Hello, Fritz.
The Bears are who we thought they were.
The Bears. The Bears.
I am the great Cornholio.
We'll see what happens.
Playoffs?
See, Sean McDonough, Jay Billis. Goats!
Can you play a song? Something cool.
Put my mic on.
I'm calling both games.
Oh, baby.
Goes down the field for Smith.
Oh, he got it!
Seattle. We're getting ready for Cincinnati.
And the NBA, and let me just check one more time on the NFL trades, nothing new. So, the NBA is underway, and some teams, I mean, any year in the NBA, there are going to be teams that have star players and, the Splash Brothers and the Big Three and whatever, right? However, this year, and okay, we're like, let's see, 7 to 8 games for most of these teams into the season out of 82. So, all right, it's not over for anybody, right? There's still plenty of time for something to happen, and let's not forget that it is a long season. It's not like football where you're 1-5, you're done. But there is some main themes and some big problems with these teams, because there are plenty of teams that have star players, and also these teams that had great seasons last year and went far in the playoffs that are off to some pretty dreadful starts and are not up to expectations at all. And Brooklyn Nets, let's start there, because there's very interesting thing with them. So last year they traded James Harden after the reunion between him and Kevin Durant didn't exactly go over too well. Durant this year was like, first he wanted to trade, then he was fine, and Irving, who wouldn't get vaccinated, didn't play at all. And I mean, there's just so much drama with that team. I mean, at one point I wasn't sure if I was watching the Brooklyn Nets or if I was watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians, because there was so much drama with this basketball team. Frankly, it was embarrassing. Like, I don't want to be the person that says shut up and dribble, but it was a bit much. This wasn't just shut up and dribble. This was, you have a job to do. Stop complaining about every little thing. Because even in the real world, right? I mean, you have a job to do. You do the job. You don't, and people that complain about every minor inconvenience, and if one little thing happens and all of a sudden they don't want to play and they won't do something for the good of the team, that's a problem. And that same thing translates to sports. And like I said, I don't want to be the guy that says shut up and dribble, but I will be the guy that says stop complaining and be a good teammate and play basketball. Do your job. I will be that guy that says do your job. They still have Durant. They have Irving. They acquired Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, in that trade for James Harden last year. So on paper, their team is good, and I understand that there have been some injury issues, and Simmons is getting back into basketball for the first time in like 2 years. I understand that there, some guys like Seth Curry haven't played, and there have been some injury issues. I get it. But they are 2-5. They are 2-5, and today they fired Steve Nash. And now you might wonder, who are they going to replace him with? And the popular answer to that question so far today has been Ime Udoka. So before we get into every other team that's struggling here, I always hate this. I always hate the how do I say, I guess cliche. I hate the cliche, there's a lot to unpack here. Or there's a lot to unpack here. But there's a lot. And let's start off with the fact that Ime Udoka got suspended by the Boston Celtics before the season started for some workplace issues, we'll say. So let's rewind a little bit. Hit your rewind button. September 30th. A probe led a law firm finding in a probe found led to Boston Celtics suspending Ime Udoka for the entire season this year. So he is still, a member of the team, but he's suspended. All right, simple enough. So, I mean, this is just I need to choose my words very carefully here, because they suspend him for a whole season because of some workplace misconduct. Oh my goodness. And so here there's more now on this. That he was having a relationship with a subordinate, staff member. So they suspend him for that. It was consensual, yes. Was it harassment? No. It's a tough thing to dive into, and as someone who did not do any of the investigative work on this, I don't have all the answers for you. All I know is that that's what the Celtics suspended him for. So now that Steve Nash is no longer the coach in Brooklyn, Ime Udoka is apparently the favorite to get the job. And you might wonder, well, he's the Celtics suspended him. He's still a part of the Celtics staff. What's the deal with that? Well, according to Woj from ESPN, the Celtics would let him leave for another job. So, and Udoka's hiring for Brooklyn could happen within the next 24 to 48 hours. And now I step down and I put on my logic hat that might be a little broken, but I say this. You suspended him for an entire 82-game season for whatever the reason was, right? Whatever it was, at the end of the day, you suspended him for the entire season because he did something wrong. I mean, and I'm not getting into whether, it wasn't wrong, or, he didn't do anything wrong. What I'm saying is, the reason you suspend somebody is because you believe they did something wrong. So the Celtics believe that he did something wrong, so they suspended him. After he served his time, so to speak, he would be able to resume his duties as the head coach of the Boston Celtics. So I'm just having a tough time understanding the logic here, because you felt that he did something wrong and you want to punish him for it. All of a sudden there's a job opening and you're willing to just let all that go? You're willing to just let all that go and let him go be the coach somewhere else. Not only let him be the coach somewhere else, but be the coach for a division rival? Let him be a coach for a division rival. That's what you're gonna do? I'm just confused, because at this point, not only, I just am a little confused at the logic here, because you suspended him for an entire year because you thought he did something wrong. There's a job opening now, and now you're willing to just let that all go and let him go be the coach at a division rival. So now I'm wondering, did you really think that there was anything wrong with what he did, or did you just have something against him? Because if you really felt like he did something wrong and you wanted to uphold the integrity of your organization, and you wanted to do all this stuff, you're just going to let him go because there's a job opening. You would let him leave for that. So what was the point of suspending him a whole year if you're just going to let him walk at the minute there's a job opening? I'm confused, and I would like other people to help me understand this. I really would. I'm speechless. I don't know what to say. Because now I'm thinking, okay, maybe you didn't really think that this was wrong and this was just an excuse to do something. Maybe you had something against this guy, and as the front office, I'm saying when I'm saying you, maybe the front office just had something against him, and they wanted to find any little possible thing they could find to suspend him and just get him away from the team and just kind of, lock him in the basement and just get him out of here, right? Because if it was something so serious and you're like, no, this needs to be, he needs to learn a lesson, right? You wouldn't just let him go have another job on another team, especially a loaded division rival that, if they put things together, could possibly knock you out of your, winning the division and the playoffs. And the logic is hurting my brain. It really is. Because now I don't think that the Celtics really thought there was anything wrong to begin with. And now I might be starting to think that they had something against him and they just were looking for any little possible excuse. Now I might be more willing to listen to people that said that this was bogus from the beginning. Because there were those people out there. And I was like, well, at the time, people were saying that. And I said, well, this is very new. We need to wait and see what else comes out of this. And I need all the details before I can say, that that Ime Udoka was I don't want to say wrongfully convicted, because it wasn't, he didn't go to jail or anything, but you get the point. Before he was wrongly suspended, right? I'm confused. I really am, because that's like you suspended, and it's this guy, Udoka he didn't come out after the suspension and say, oh, I don't want to coach for this team anymore. It wasn't a Deshaun Watson Houston Texans situation where the Texans were like, hey, we need to kind of, maybe we should get this figured out. And then he was like, oh, I don't want to play for this team anymore. I want to move on. That's not what's going on here. And even then, maybe let's take a look at that. Let's go back to that. This is almost like the minute that Deshaun Watson wanted out, that was like if the Texans traded him to the Indianapolis Colts, a division rival. That would make no sense. Why would you possibly do that? You don't trade a talented person, player, coach, whatever. You don't let him go to, another team just at the drop of a hat. So it's just, I'm baffled. I'm confused by the fact that the Celtics now are just like, oh yeah, oh, the Brooklyn, they have a head coaching job. Sure, you want it? Fine by me. I'm terribly confused. And I mean, we'll see if this happens, if he does get hired, if the Brooklyn Nets do hire him, and it's more and more looking that way, that the Brooklyn Nets are going to hire Ime Udoka as their next head coach. So it's definitely an interesting time here for the NBA, and once again I feel bad as once again we didn't really get to what I wanted to get to this segment, but other teams like Brooklyn who have star players that are struggling, the Miami Heat with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo and everybody there, they're 2-5. The Chicago Bulls with DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Lonzo Ball, they had a really good season last year. They're 3-4. The Sixers started 0-3. They're, putting it together more and more. They're 4-4 now. The Mavericks at 3-3 with a very talented team with Luka Doncic. The Warriors with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, Jordan Poole. That's a pretty good team right there. Mind you, they won the finals last year. They're 3-4. The Clippers are also at 3-4 with Kawhi, Paul George, and John Wall returning from injury. And then the Lakers with LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Russell Westbrook are at a dreadful 1-5. Not good. And the overlying theme there is that, there are three things that, in my book, in any sport, and there's more to this, right? There's more than these aspects, but excuse me, man, you need to have a complete team. You need a good coach, a good culture, and talent all around. You need you can't just rely on one good player. You need good offensive players, good defensive players, good hitters, good pitchers, whatever. Good goalie, good defenseman, good center in hockey, right? Whatever. You need talent all around, not just one guy. I mean, I look at the Warriors. I imagine the chemistry and culture took a little bit of a hit the moment that Draymond Green's fist hit Jordan Poole's face. The Clippers, all right, they're recovering from injury. That's probably the reason there. Lakers, they're not a complete team. They don't have talent all around. Their offense is terrible, and they're also aging as well. The Mavericks are really relying on Luka Doncic a lot. The Sixers, I think their defense is a little suspect there. The Bulls, not really sure what's going on there. Haven't really watched too much Chicago Bulls basketball this season. Same thing with the Miami Heat. And then the Brooklyn Nets, as I mentioned, apparently they didn't have a good coach, and I don't think they have a good culture on that team either. So, we'll see if those teams can turn it around. And I'm very interested to see if Ime Udoka will get hired as the next Brooklyn Nets head coach.